The drowning planet in a far corner of the galaxy. There was a rule every alien race followed without question. The rule was older than memory. The rule was simple. Never land on a planet filled with water. Never touch the ocean. Never go near the blue planets. These planets were known as the drowning worlds. For centuries, the alien scanners marked every water-covered planet as a death zone. Their maps showed red warning signs. Stories from ancient times told of explorers who went to these planets and never came back. It was said that the oceans pulled ships down into the dark. It was said that the water itself was alive. No one ever proved it. But no one dared to test it either. HFY was one of those planets. It was beautiful and strange. From space, it looked calm and blue, like a giant marble floating in the dark. But no alien ship had ever touched its surface. No probe ever returned. HFY was silent, untouched, feared. But everything changed the day. A human ship crashed on HFY. The alien space station orbiting above the planet picked up the crash signal. The crew of the alien ship Vernick watched in shock. Their screens showed a fireball falling into the blue sea. The human ship had lost control. It dropped fast and hit the ocean with great force. The aliens expected nothing to rise again. They believed the humans would drown like all before them. Commander Rexel stood in front of the main screen. He crossed his arms. His eyes stayed fixed on the ocean below. The science officer moved closer and spoke in a quiet voice. The human ship has landed. The structure is broken, but still floating. Life signs are active. Commander Rexel turned sharply. Active? That is not possible. The ocean should have consumed them already. On the screen, they saw movement. The humans had opened the top hatch. 3 figures came out. They stood on the broken ship. They looked around. Then something strange happened. The first human pulled off his helmet. The second followed. Then the third. All 3 removed their suits and stood in the open air. The alien crew gasped. To them, this was madness. The air was untested. The ocean was cursed. No one should survive this, but the humans were smiling. One of them ran forward and jumped off the edge of the ship. He fell into the water with a splash. The others followed. Soon, all 3 were swimming. They were laughing, floating, diving under and coming back up again. The alien crew could not understand it. This was not how death looked. This was not fear. It was joy. It was freedom. Commander Rexel stepped closer to the screen. Zoom in now. I want to see their faces. The screen adjusted. The humans were swimming like sea creatures. They moved with ease. They played in the water like children. One of them lay on his back, arms open, eyes closed, just floating. The youngest alien on the crew, a junior officer named Yulin, whispered without thinking. They are not dying. They are enjoying the ocean. Rexel turned to him. What did you say? Yulin looked down. I said they are not afraid. They swim like they belong there. Silence filled the control room. The crew had no words. They had been raised to believe that water meant death. But the humans were showing them something new. Something no one had ever dared to believe. Rexel moved back to his seat. His voice was low and tense. Send this footage to the High Council. Tell them what we have seen. The science officer nodded and began the transmission. Yulin could not look away from the screen. In his mind, a question had started to grow. If humans can swim in death, then what else have we been wrong about far below, on the surface of HFY? The humans continued to enjoy the ocean. They climbed back onto their ship. They dried themselves. They waved at the sky, not knowing they were being watched. The sun set behind them. The water turned gold. The sky turned purple. The air was calm. For the first time in alien history, the curse of the drowning planet had been broken. But in the minds of those watching from above, fear was turning into something new. It was not fear of the water anymore. It was fear of change. Commander Rexel watched the final frame and spoke in a flat voice. These humans, they swim in death. What else are they capable of? He did not know the answer, but the galaxy was about to find out. The forbidden footage, the High Council received the video in silence inside. The great hall made of black stone and silver light, the leaders of the 5 elder races gathered around the central screen. They saw the humans at Aqua 5, laughing in the ocean, floating like they had no fear, diving into the deep blue like they were home. Some council members blinked slowly, some leaned back in their chairs. Some whispered old warnings passed down through generations, but no one spoke out loud, not at first. The Grand Speaker, an ancient being from the Draxan Empire, finally raised her head. Her eyes were wide and filled with something strange, not fear, not anger, but disbelief. "This is false," she said. "The footage must be fake. It cannot be real. No one survives the water. The oceans are cursed. We all know this. The histories are clear." But the footage kept playing again and again. The humans swam with peace, with joy, as if the water was part of them, as if they were made for it. In a far corner of the room, young Yellen stood quiet. He had come only to deliver the message, but now he listened. He watched their faces. He saw cracks forming in their belief. After the meeting, Yulin returned to his small quarters in the lower levels of the station. He could not sleep. The images of the swimming humans played again in his mind, not as a warning, but as a puzzle, a door waiting to be opened. He logged into the science archive, where restricted files were kept and typed. Aqua 5, thousands of reports filled the screen, most marked as danger, classified, forbiddens. Many had no details, only red alerts and ancient glyphs from older languages. Some were thousands of years old. One file caught his eye. It had no name, only a number and a note: "Lost crew 5 souls, location unknown." Yulin opened it. The footage was damaged, but he saw something strange: shapes in the water, figures struggling, then silence. Then darkness. He leaned back. The room felt colder. Now he whispered to himself, "What if they never drowned? What if they just never came back?" Next day, he walked the long metal corridors toward the observation deck, where Aqua 5 floated below him. Endless and shining, its water moved slowly, like it was breathing calm. But Alav Alon made a decision. He opened a direct channel, not to the Council, not to the military, but to Earth. He used an old code from trade records, so no one would track it. He recorded a short message: "I am Yulin from the Vernac. I saw your people survive the water planet. We were told it was death. We were told it would kill you, but you swam, you smiled. I must know, how is this possible? What are you?" He sent the message, then deleted all traces, then sat in silence. His heart beat louder than ever before. 3 days passed, no reply came. He started to think, maybe no one had heard, maybe it was lost in the deep. Then on the 4th night, a small alert blinked on his console. It was not loud, it was not bright, just a single soft sound, but it changed everything. Message began with a human face, a woman, calm and smiling. Her eyes were kind, her voice was clear. "This is Dr. Marla Henson from the United Earth Oceanic Research Team. We received your message, Yulin, and we understand your confusion. The answer is simple. We come from water. We evolved near it, lived beside it. Our ancestors learned to swim before they learned to walk." Yulin leaned forward, his hands shaking. The woman continued, "Water is not death to us. It is life. It is comfort. It is memory. When we are born, we swim, we die, we return to it. We do not fear it. We love it." She paused, then spoke again. "But I must ask you something. Why do your people fear it so deeply? Who taught you that?" The message ended, but Yulin sat still, her words echoing in his mind. Not fear, but love, not death, but life. He downloaded the message, saved it to a hidden drive, and took it to the only place he knew he could hide it: the memory vault deep under the station, where old knowledge slept in silence, waiting to wake. He knew the Council would never allow this truth to spread. Not yet, maybe not ever, but the seed had been planted, and seeds do not stay buried forever. Outside the window, Aqua 5 glowed like a jewel, untouched, unmoved, unknowingly waiting, and somewhere on its surface humans swam under the stars, unaware that their joy had started a quiet war above them. Human reply: Dr. Marla Henson stood in the command lab on Earth, surrounded by ocean maps, glowing blue screens, and quiet humming machines. Her fingers moved over the glass panels as she rewatched the alien message again and again, each time, noticing the fear in the young alien's voice, the disbelief. In his eyes, the strange hunger to understand what humans had done. She had sent the reply 3 Earth days ago, and now she waited, wondering what the silence meant. Maybe the aliens were thinking, maybe they were afraid, maybe they were planning something bigger. She was not sure, but she knew something had begun outside her lab. The human base floated above Earth's deepest trench. A ring of lights surrounded it, soft and white, glowing through the darkness. Far below, the waves moved slow and heavy, pressing against the metal walls like a heartbeat in the deep. A young technician entered holding a tablet. His voice was quiet but excited. "Dr. Henson, we just got another message from the alien ship, the Vernuk. It's not from that young officer this time. It's from their science director." She took the tablet and played the message. A tall alien figure appeared, his face sharp, his voice serious. "We have reviewed your answer. We do not understand your biology. We do not understand your comfort with the ocean. Our kind sees only danger and death. Your people move through it like air, and this breaks our understanding. The council does not approve of this communication. But I must know more. You said you evolved near water. Show us proof. Explain how this can be real." Marla smiled. She turned to her team. "Prepare a package full biological scan data, underwater birth archives, evolution charts, everything. Make it simple, clear, and undeniable with ours." The humans sent a full digital file. They did not hide their history. They showed ancient cave drawings of humans swimming. They showed video of infants floating. They showed divers reaching the ocean floor with smiles on their faces. They showed tears of joy after surfacing from deep dives. They showed love, not fear. The message ended with one final clip: a man, old and slow, walking into the sea, his arms open. As the waves touched him, he lay down and floated in silence. The screen faded to black with only one sentence: to U.S. water is not the end. It is the beginning. On the alien station, far above Aqua 5, the message arrived. Quietly, but its impact was loud. Inside minds, inside hearts, inside hidden corners of belief. Yulan watched it in secret, again and again. Each time feeling something break inside, something soft, something dangerous, something beautiful. Others watched too, some with anger, some with silence, some with hidden wonder. But the council did not allow open talk. They declared the message false, dangerous, unnatural. They said the humans had used tricks, illusions, lies, and they ordered the end of all transmissions. But it was too late. The truth had already touched too many ears. One alien pilot named Varek had watched the videos in secret every night for 7 cycles. He had seen the baby swim, the old man float, the laughter in the waves, and something inside him refused to stay silent. He was not a scientist, he was not a thinker, he was a soldier trained to follow, but something pulled him stronger than orders, something deep and cold and full of questions. One morning, before the station lights fully turned on, Varek entered the hangar, climbed into his ship, and flew downward. No weapons, no backup, just his suit, his breath, and a growing fire in his chest. Guards saw him too late. By the time alarms rang, he was gone already, entering Aqua 5's atmosphere, his ship glowing red from heat, the ocean rising fast below him. The council called it desertion. The officers called it madness, but others just watched, waiting, not speaking, as the first alien in centuries prepared to touch the water as the blue filled his windows and the clouds broke. Varek whispered to himself, not a prayer, not a goodbye, just one sentence from the human message: maybe the beginning lives down there. And then his ship vanished into the sky below. First alien swim. The ocean below was endless and alive. It moved like breath, slow and deep, with a sound that filled Varek's ship like a heartbeat, growing louder as he fell through the clouds. The sky turned from gray to soft blue. The light changed. It felt warmer, older, not dangerous, just different. His ship shook gently as it touched the water. It floated, not sank, and for a long moment he sat still inside, staring at the waves. They were not crashing. They were not angry. They rocked him like a child in a cradle. He had never seen anything like Ith looked through the front screen and saw the human wreck in the distance, still resting like a forgotten island, pieces of metal floating around it, but no sign of life. Varek took a breath and opened the hatch. Air rushed in, clean and full. Of salt and softness, not poison like the council had warned, but real air, fresh and light. He stepped out and stood on top of his ship. His boots touched metal, and then he knelt and reached down, slowly dipping his fingers into the ocean. It was cold, but not cruel. It was smooth and flowing around his skin like silk. He felt nothing attack him, no pull, no pain, just water, simple water. Then a sound came from behind, voices strange but calm. He turned and saw them, 3 humans standing on the wreck, smiling, waving their hands, calling out in greeting. Their skin was wet and glowing from sunlight, their eyes wide with surprise and joy, not fear. Varric raised his hand slowly, unsure of the gesture, but copying them. They laughed. One of them dove into the water and swam toward him, his movements smooth and strong, like a creature of the sea, not of land. The human reached the ship and held onto the side, looking up at Varric with bright eyes. You came from the sky, didn't you? The human said. Welcome down here. I'm Jake, and you're the first alien we've seen since the crash. Do you want to swim? Varric did not answer. He stared at the human's face, the way water rolled off his shoulders, the way he floated so easily, like it was his second home, maybe his first. I was told this place would kill me, Varric said quietly. The ocean is supposed to eat us, to break us, to drown our minds. Jake laughed, not mocking, just surprised. Who told you that water doesn't want to hurt anyone? It only gives back what you bring into it. Come on, I'll show you. It's easier than it looks. Varric hesitated. He removed his gloves slowly, then his chest plate, then the rest of the suit, until only his underlayer remained thin and smooth against his skin. Air touched him fully now, and he felt strange, exposed but free. He stepped into the water. It climbed up his legs, cold, sharp, and then soft when he let go and allowed it to rise around him. He floated for a moment. Without trying, the water held him, like it remembered something about him, something his people had forgotten. Jake guided him gently, showing him how to move, how to breathe, how to trust the waves. Varric followed each instruction slowly, clumsy at first, unsure and stiff, but then something shifted inside him, something ancient. His body began to remember, without knowing why. He moved his arms, pushed his legs, tilted his head, and suddenly he was no longer sinking or standing. He was swimming, not fast, not well, but real swimming for the first time in his life. He laughed. The sound surprised him, loud and full, and rising from deep inside his chest. He laughed again, louder, as the humans clapped and cheered and splashed beside him. The fear was gone, replaced by something he had no name. For something between wonder and peace. He swam with them for a long time, talking, asking, watching, and learning. The humans told him stories about Earth, about oceans with waves taller than ships, about children learning to float before they learned to speak, about water being sacred, not cursed. When the sun began to lower and the sky turned gold, he lay on his back, staring upward, his arms open, his body light. The water rocked him gently, the sky above endless and blue, the ocean below endless and calm, and he felt like he had stepped out of a dream and into something real. That night, while the humans made a fire on a floating raft and cooked strange food that smelled like smoke and salt, Varric spoke softly into his communicator to know one in particular. They were right. The water is not death. We were wrong, and we have always been wrong. Above them, far in orbit, the council ships received his signal. Silence followed in every room. Officers stared at the transmission without speaking. Some were angry, some afraid, but others were quiet, as if hearing a new truth for the first time. And down on HFY, Varric floated in the dark water, watching the stars rise above the horizon, knowing that his life, his people, and maybe the whole galaxy would never be the same again. Ocean war in the black halls of the council station. Silence turned to anger. Voices rose, commands were shouted, and the name Varric echoed through every chamber. He had broken sacred law, touched cursed water, swam beside humans, and sent a message of heresy across the stars to billions who had never seen the ocean. And now that message had spread faster than fire across frozen ground. Some believed him, some doubted, but everyone watched. The council declared emergency status across all systems. Contact with humans was to be blocked, recordings were to be destroyed, and all information about Aqua 5 was marked as forbidden territory again. But this time many were no longer willing to obey in silence inside the military. When the fleet was being armed, dozens of warships prepared to descend, not to talk, not to study, but to erase before the truth spread. Deeper, before more minds opened, before more aliens dared to wonder what waited beneath the waves on Earth. The signal was intercepted by a listening satellite. The message was short: a fleet is coming. They want to wipe the sea clean. Dr. Marla Henson stood with her team on the bridge of the Earth vessel Horizon. She looked down at Aqua 5 glowing beneath them. And she did not speak for a long time. Beside her stood Captain Lin, a calm, steady man who had seen wars and peace. Both he nodded once and gave the order: launch defense unit, prepare. Sea-level protocols, alert the human camps, we are not letting them erase truth with fire down on the planet. The ocean camp was still lit with soft lights and warm fires. Varric and the human crew had begun building floating platforms. Connected by rope and old parts, they called it the Blue Ring, a place for learning. Swimming, healing, a place where aliens and humans could meet without fear. But the sky changed too fast for peace to last. The first shadow came at dawn, a large alien carrier, shaped like a silver blade, floating above the clouds, silent and wide. It blocked the sun for several minutes until the second ship joined it. Then the third, then 100 more. The humans looked up slowly, one by one, standing at the edge of their rafts. Eyes narrow, breath held the air, became heavy with tension. Varric stood with them, not in uniform, not as a soldier, but as someone reborn in water. He stared at the ships above and then spoke softly: they are not here to talk. And he was right. The Council fleet began descending, not firing yet, but ready. Their message was loud and cold: return the traitor, leave the planet, cease all activity, or face destruction. Captain Lin replied from the Horizon, his voice steady and strong: we will not give you Varric, we will not leave, and if you fire on us, then you fire on peace, on learning, on something older than your fear. The ocean moved slower that day, as if listening, as if waiting, and then the first beam struck the water, a warning shot deep enough to shake the floating rafts and scatter the birds in the sky. Not enough to kill, but enough to show power, enough to silence hope. But hope did not die, it only dove deeper. The humans activated their shield grid. A ring of light rose from beneath the waves, glowing blue and white, powered by deep sea cores. It formed a barrier around the blue ring, not to attack but to protect. The alien fleet adjusted its position, preparing a second strike. But then something unexpected happened below the water. Dozens of small crafts rose from the sea. Not human and not council vessels. They were ancient old shapes marked with forgotten symbols. They hovered beside the human fleet, silent but firm. A voice came from one of them, not from a commander, but from a child, the same alien child Varric had saved weeks ago during a storm near the northern edge of Aqua 5. The child's voice echoed through every channel. She said, the water did not hurt me, the water saved me. Why are you afraid of what keeps us alive? No. One answered, because there was no answer that made sense anymore. Council ships paused, held still in the sky, thousands of eyes on thousands of screens watching. One small child floating in the ocean, held by human arms, alive, smiling, free across the stars. More fleets received the broadcast, more people asked questions, more eyes turned to Aqua 5, not with fear now, but with wonder. Varric looked around at the humans beside him, then at the child above the sea, and he knew the war had already begun. But it would not be fought with fire alone. It would be fought with memory, with courage, with truth. Ocean did not rise that day. It waited patiently, as it always had, not to destroy, but to reveal the truth beneath. The war never came in the way they feared. No sky was torn open. No fire fell from above. No blood colored the sea, but something larger began to happen, something slower and deeper and more powerful than weapons. As the council waited for answers, and the humans stood their ground, eyes turned away from the sky and looked into the water, not with fear, but with questions. Varric stood on the edge of a floating platform, staring into the ocean below. The waves were calm, but he knew they were not empty. Something waited beneath them, something older than memory. He had dreamed of it for nights. His sleep filled with sounds he could not name and shapes he could not hold, a call rising from the deep. Calling not to his ears, but to his bones. Dr. Marla Henson stood beside him, her tablet glowing in the morning light. She showed him the latest scan sonar had picked up strange formations. Near the trench floor, massive structures not made by nature, layered with lines and curves, repeating patterns that looked almost like writing not from humans and not from any modern alien language. These shapes are not random. She said they are made by something intelligent, something ancient we have to see it with our own eyes. The humans prepared a dive capsule, small, fast, with reinforced glass and a memory core that could record sound and vibration. Varik insisted on going with them. He said it was time to stop looking from above. He wanted to know what was calling him. The capsule dropped slowly through the water, light faded layer by layer, until only the soft blue glow of the scanner remained. The silence grew thick, pressing against the walls like breath held too long. Then they saw it. The structure rose from the trench floor like a mountain carved into towers and circles, built not from rock but from smooth dark stone that shimmered when touched by the scanner light. Every wall covered in symbols, flowing in a language no one knew but that still felt familiar. They floated closer and saw carvings in the walls, not words but pictures, figures swimming, not drowning, hands reaching for the surface, eyes wide not with fear but with wonder. Aliens like Varik, humans like Marla and others older, unknown, all gathered together in the water, not dying but dancing. Marla spoke into her recorder. This place is a memory, a message from something long before us. They wanted us to know the water was never meant to be feared. It was meant to be shared. Varik reached out and touched the wall. As he did, the symbols lit up, not bright, but soft like breathing. His mind filled with sound, not voice, not music, just feeling, a long, slow thought, like someone waking up from a long sleep. He saw flashes in his head, not visions but memories, not his but still inside him. A time when aliens swam as children, not soldiers. When the ocean was home and not horror. When something happened, something dark and fast, that made them forget. They were taught fear. They were given false stories by those who wanted control. This council was not the beginning. It was the wall built to hide the beginning. When the capsule rose back to the surface, the sun had shifted and the world looked new. Varik stepped onto the platform and spoke to the silent crowd waiting. The ocean never cursed us. It was our minds that were cursed by fear, by silence, by stories. We never questioned. The truth was beneath us all along. The footage was sent across every known system, translated into 100 languages, shown on thousands of screens. The trench, the carvings, the lights, the symbols, the memories, all of it proof on distant planets. Young aliens cried when they saw the water move with light. Old commanders dropped to their knees and whispered names they had not spoken in years. In the great council chamber, many simply walked away, not in anger, but in quiet shame. In one homeworld, a child asked her father, why did they lie? And the father could not answer. He only held her close and whispered, I do not know, but I will never lie to you again. The humans did not dance in victory. They did not claim the truth as their own. They only opened the door and waited for others to walk through it with them. And the ocean waited too, not as a god or a weapon, but as a reminder that the past cannot be buried forever, because the water remembers. And now, so do they. New blue worlds. Do they new blue worlds. Council buildings, once cold and full of shadow, stood empty. Now their long halls quiet, their glowing walls dark. Across the galaxy, screens once filled with warnings now showed oceans blue and deep, stretching under golden suns, with no danger signs, no red marks, just names, new names full of hope and history, reclaimed by those who had forgotten. On HFY 5, the sun rose slowly through a sky of silver and gold, the ocean below calm and wide, stretching forever in every direction. But now the water was not alone. It held rafts and platforms, ships and towers, learning domes made of glass, floating schools, where young aliens laughed and kicked and splashed without fear, without shame. Varik stood on the edge of a high platform, watching dozens of children, alien and human, swimming in circles, some with fins, some with gills, some still wearing float rings. But all of them laughing, he turned as Dr. Marla Henson stepped beside him, her arms crossed, her eyes full of something deeper than pride, not victory. Not control, just quiet peace. It happened faster than we thought, she said, or maybe it was always ready to happen, and we just had to listen. Varric nodded. He had stopped wearing his uniform long ago. Now he wore simple fabric, soft and open, light enough to dry quickly, heavy enough to dive deep. He no longer felt like a soldier, he felt like a part of the sea. Across the planet, new communities had formed, not ruled by humans, not led by aliens, but built by both together. Platforms connected by rope and trust, research centers floating beside healing pools, stories painted on sails and walls, showing the trench, the carvings, the long forgetting, and the gentle remembering that followed. In orbit, satellites were no longer used for war, they were used to scan other water planets, once ignored, once feared, now full of life. Teams were sent to swim, to explore, to listen, and they found more carvings, more signs, more memories. Each world holding its own voice and its own version of the truth. And every time a new ocean was touched, the water welcomed them, without anger, without punishment, as if it had always been waiting. Varric returned to the trench once more, not alone this time, but with a group of young swimmers from 5 different species. They swam through the lightless tunnels, past glowing walls, past old echoes, past fear, and into a wide chamber where the carvings continued, not showing death, not showing gods, just beings swimming beside each other, holding hands in the dark. Reaching toward the surface, one child looked up at him and whispered, "Why did they hide this from you?" Varric did not answer, not with words. He only reached out and touched the wall again, and when it glowed, the children gasped and reached out too, their hands small and curious and brave. Up on the surface, Captain Lin, now retired, sat on the edge of a raft with his feet in the water, watching the clouds move and listening to music from Earth playing softly through the wind. Beside him, an alien healer braided seaweed into strands of learning tools for a class of younglings tomorrow. Across the waves, 3 more ships arrived, not to warn, not to fight, but to join. Dr. Henson sent her final report from Aqua 5, not to the council, not to a government, but to the public. It was short and quiet and filled with light. She said, "Water is not a mystery. It is not a fear. It is not an enemy. It is a mirror. When we finally stopped fearing it, we saw ourselves more clearly, and what we saw was beautiful." She closed the file and walked outside where the stars were beginning to appear, one by one, not watching, not judging, just shining. The children swam until the night wrapped around them like a warm blanket. The lights of the floating city glowing under the sky like fireflies, the ocean breathing gently beneath it all. Varric stood alone for a while, then stepped into the water. Not for escape, not for courage, just for home, his body slipping beneath the surface, with the ease of someone who had always belonged there, even if he had forgotten for a while. He swam far out into the dark where the stars touched the sea, and the waves whispered softly, "Welcome back," because the ocean remembers, and now so does everyone. The end.